back to more Cake Yes Mom Badass Edible Art. I'm your girl Jelena, and today I'm going to teach you part dos, number 2, of how I use Procreate to sketch my cakes. You all were such fans of part 1. I was so happy with all of you saying, I just downloaded it, I'm using it now. And some of you even sent me DMs of your cake sketch where you were just following along with me. And I thought that was amazing. Before we jump into this video of me giving you those 5 little tips, make sure you hit that notification bell down below so that when you're notified every time I upload a new video like this. And you should already be subscribed, but if you are not and you are new to this channel, hit that subscribe button along with it. All right, let's get into it. So like always, we want to go ahead and open our Procreate application, and I'm gonna go and find that same file that we used last time with our beautiful pink and green cake there in all its glory. And I'm gonna hit you guys with a couple of 5 tips to help you along the way of sketching your cakes out. One of the great things that I love about Procreate is that you are able to control the size of your canvas. Now, if I want my canvas to get smaller so that way I can see it in full without having my edges cropped off or anything like that, then you can just take your 2 fingers and pinch in, and it will make your canvas smaller. And to then bring it closer, you can again 2 fingers and then widen with your fingers, and the canvas will get bigger. In the first episode of me teaching you how do I use Procreate to sketch my cakes, I was coloring and creating all of these little flowers, and I showed you how you could duplicate them. But now I'm going to show you how you can group them all together. Now, we're going to freeze frame really quickly just so I can explain this to you. There's 2 ways that you can group your layers together. There's one way where you're actually grouping them together, but they still going to remain their individual layers. Meaning, if I had 3 layers of flowers and I grouped them together, I can still revisit those 3 layers and change each individual layer however I want them to change. And then there's something called merging your groups together, or merging your layers together, excuse me. And basically what that means is if I had those 3 layers of flowers and I merge them together, now what happens is they become one layer all together. So there's a little bit of a difference there. So I'm going to show you guys how we can do that. So you see all of these flowers that I have right here, I want them all together so I can move them at once. So you can take and pinch them all together, and what happens is that's going to merge your flowers. Or you can tap lightly on one of the flowers, and then if you see the menu bar comes up, and at the bottom you have merge down or combine down. I'm going to go ahead and choose combine down for this time. And what's going to happen is going to group my next flower with me, and then if I click on the group that it's made and click it again and combine down, it's going to continuously group together whatever layer is next. Now with that new group of flowers that I made that's titled new group, you see this little arrow that points down. I can click it and it'll group it all together. So now that the layers aren't disappeared, but they all kind of combine up to save us some room. And then I can click it again so that way it all shows and appears, and we can still alternate each individual layer as we'd like, whatever we want to turn it into or change each one. Another way that you can add to the group is you can actually hold down on the layer you like, let it pop up so that we can drag it into that group, and now it will be added to it. Let's say you've decided to merge together the layers that you put in a group, okay? I'm gonna go ahead and open up that upper flowers group, let the layers show, which are the 2 flowers that are in that group. I'm gonna choose the first flower, and then I'm gonna let the menu bar pop up off to the side, and I'm gonna hit the merge down option. And what's that? It's going to do, remember last time, is it's going to merge those layers together. It's going to merge together the next layer that's down there. And now I have one layer of these 2 small flowers, but it's still in the group, so I kind of want to take it out. So you just kind of lift it up and reorganize it on above it, and then I can now swipe to delete it, hitting that red delete button. So now, because you've merged these layers together or you group these layers together, you can go ahead and move them all at once, so that way you don't have to worry about moving each individual flower at a time. Now I want to go ahead and play around with 2 effects that I want to teach you. Now I'm going to use the small flowers layer that we merged together, and if you go over and you choose your wand option, you can see a menu drop down, and we're going to play around with the opacity, and then later we'll do the Gaussian blur. But for now we're going to choose opacity, and again I already have my layer chosen, which are the 2 flowers, and you can see this blue line pop up at the top of Procreate. And what that's going to do is that's going to take care of basically your transparency of the object. So our object are the flowers, and it's going to either have us be able to make it look like a ghost where it's a little see-through, or we can completely make it disappear, or we can make it completely reappear if we want to. And if you notice, I zoomed in here so that way you can see how it takes care of it also shows you the opacity percentage of what you have it on. So I'm using the word opacity because that's what it's called, but it's also another word for transparency, where we're able to see through it if we need that type of effect. Now let's talk about the Gaussian blur. Now what the Gaussian blur basically does is you're able to create some sort of shadow of the object or layers that you have. So we're going to create a shadow for the flowers that we have. Okay, so we're going to freeze frame right here just so I can show you guys that the first thing you want to do is duplicate the layer that you want to have a shadow effect behind it. So right now we want the actual whole cake to have a shadow effect behind it. So I duplicated the cake layer, and you can see here there are 2 layers of cake. And then what I'm going to do is I want to make the top layer, the very first top layer for the cake layer, to disappear. So I'm going to click that little check mark that's next to the N on this layer that's highlighted here blue, and you see that little check mark. We're going to uncheck that mark so that way it can now disappear from the top. And when I do that, what's going to happen is you're still going to see the cake layer because we've duplicated it. Now as you can see, I'm working with the duplicated cake layer that I have here visible. The top layer is invisible. I click that little button to make it invisible, and I'm going to drop it to make sure that cake layer is all black. So the lines that create my cake and the cake board itself is all filled in black. That's what we want, okay? Then going back at the top again and choosing the wand tool one more time, that same tool that we use for the opacity. We're going to choose that same tool again, the wand tool, and that menu bar will drop down, and we're going to choose the second option, which is the Gaussian blur. After choosing the Gaussian blur option, the blue line does not appear, but you can drag it in with your Apple Pen back and forth. And as you can see, that blue line going in and out. But then also if you look at the cake, you see the cake starting to blur and then unblur itself, depending on how long I let that blue line be, what percentage I put it on. Now going into my menu, I want to make sure that I have the all black cake layer chosen, so that way I can use that for the shadow effect. But I also will make visible the color cake layer just so you can start seeing that blur pop up behind it. So I just wanted you to be able to fully see the effect as it's happening. Again, making sure your all black layer is chosen, and then what we're going to do is choose the Gaussian option and the Gaussian blur option, and we're going to start pulling in that blue line, so that way the shadow effect will start, and you can see the blue line starting to peek in. And then also if you're looking at the cake, you can start seeing that little blur in the background pop up. I've chosen the select tool and chosen that layer, that shadow layer, and I just moved it off to the left a little bit so that way it'll show a little bit more. Now for those of you who may be confused, don't worry, we're going to do it again. I've chosen a layer, it's the flowers. I've duplicated that. I'm going to make the top flower layer invisible, choose the bottom flower layer, and I'm going to color those flowers in with black. And so I'm going to, again, like I was doing, I drag and drop the black. Remember we learned that in the first episode of this. I'm going to drag and drop the black all in this, so that way the whole flower, the leaves itself are dark, and that way it'll help us get that dark shadow in the background. So now we have it all black, see that? And now what I'm going to do is go ahead, for an easier view, I'm going to make that top flower layer visible, but making sure that the black flower layer is still chosen. Chose my Gaussian blur, and I'm pulling that blue line in a little bit. Can you see the difference now? Look at my flowers as I go back and forth. You can see that blur happening, and I've chosen the select tool just to move that flower shadow off to the left a little bit to pop out more. So last but not least, now I'm going to leave you with a real simple and easy one. I'm going to show you how you can reorder your layers. And basically, we have all of these layers, and because we have all these layers, they sit on top of each other. So if you just look here on the screen and you see those bottom flowers on the bottom tier, and then you see that black line through it. Now if you remember in part 1, we made that black S line, and then we put the flowers there, but unfortunately we never reordered it. So now the black line is on top of the flowers, and that doesn't really look too clean and too good. So I want to put the flowers above that. okay? I want to put the flowers on top of that black S-line design that we created. So I'm going to show you how we can do that. Really simple. All you have to do is go to your menu bar. You're going to choose the layer that you want to reorder. So in the menu bar, we're choosing, what's the layer we're going to choose? We're going to go ahead and choose the bottom flowers grouped up layer. And you see I've dragged it up to the top, so now it's above that S line. And that's it. That's how simple it is to reorder and reorganize your layers. Thanks for joining me for another video tutorial. I really appreciate it. Make sure you hit that like button down below to let me know that you liked it. Give me a thumbs up and comment down below what you would like to see in another video. Like what other tutorial? Is it a cake tutorial? Another sketching tutorial? What? I'm already planning part 3 of this, so let me know if you want to see it because I'm actually excited for it. And other than that, I want you guys to have a wonderful, beautiful day. Thank you so much. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Jelena Simpson. Talk to you guys later. Bye.